When a television host attempted to disgrace Carrie Underwood on live TV, she reversed the situation with one remark that astonished the globe. Before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to ask you to subscribe to our channel. And if you enjoy this video, please consider liking and sharing it. May God bless all those who support us, and may He continue to guide us in spreading kindness and hope. The atmosphere in the studio was electrifying, the sort of vibe that makes you inch closer to the edge of your chair. Carrie Underwood had consented to appear on Live Tonight with Melanie Hayes, a talk show recognized for its daring political nuances and uncompromising approach to interviews. The stage was prepared, the lights were intense, and the audience hummed with expectation. Carrie was no stranger to fame. With her Grammy victories, sold-out performances, and enduring career, she had encountered difficult inquiries before. But this wasn't a standard promotional conversation. Melanie Hayes, the host, was notorious for her cutting remarks and talent for crafting viral gotcha moments. Her interviews often teetered between entertainment and confrontation, and tonight Carrie was her focus. From the moment Carrie stepped onto the stage, there was an undeniable strain in the air. She exuded poise in a sleek navy pantsuit, her golden hair framing a serene yet resolute expression. The audience applauded, but Melanie's grin hinted at something more strategic. She had a scheme, and Carrie was about to walk straight into it. The discussion started innocuously enough. Melanie inquired about Carrie's latest album, her tour agenda, and life as a working mother. Carrie responded with her signature warmth, her tone steady and sincere. But as the topics veered into deeper matters, her beliefs, her stance on particular societal issues, it became evident that Melanie had no intention of keeping things light. "I've got to ask," Melanie said, leaning forward in her chair. "You've been quite outspoken about your personal principles, especially concerning certain political matters. Do you believe it's responsible for someone in your position to express such polarizing opinions?" It was a loaded question, disguised in a tone that implied judgment more than genuine curiosity. The audience murmured, recognizing the shift in the atmosphere. Carrie didn't waver, but you could see the thoughts spinning behind her composed demeanor. This was merely the opening move, and everyone in the room could sense that Melanie was just getting started. Carrie met Melanie's pointed question with a measured smile, allowing a moment for the weight of the words to settle. "I believe everyone has the right to their own perspective," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "As an artist, my role is to share my reality, not to dictate what others should accept." The response earned a smattering of applause from the audience, but Melanie wasn't about to let it conclude there. She reclined in her chair, her smile sharp and unwavering. "Fair enough," she replied, her tone carrying just enough bite to suggest otherwise. "But don't you think that as a public figure, your reality could have unintended repercussions? Maybe even estrange some of your supporters?" Carrie tilted her head slightly, a gesture that wasn't dismissive, but certainly assured. "I think my fans know who I am. They've supported me for years because they value my sincerity.
I trust them to make their own choices, just as I've made mine." Melanie's eyes narrowed, her gaze almost predatory. This was the moment she'd been waiting for, the opportunity to go beyond casual debate and corner her guest. She adjusted her posture, leaning forward with feigned concern. "But what about when your truth doesn't align with progress? I mean, don't you worry that sticking to your personal beliefs could make you seem, well, out of touch?" The audience gasped lightly, sensing the tension ramping up. Carrie's expression didn't waver, but there was a slight shift in her posture, a subtle straightening of her spine, a sign that she was ready to push back. The cameras caught every detail. Melanie's smirk, the audience's eager anticipation, and Carrie's composed determination. "Out of touch," Carrie repeated, as if testing the phrase. "I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Could you clarify?" It was a masterful move. By asking for clarification, Carrie subtly flipped the dynamic. Melanie, now on the spot, hesitated for a brief second, but she recovered quickly, disguising the pause with a dramatic shrug. "Well, let's just say that not everyone agrees with the stances you've taken on certain issues. Some might even call them outdated." The room fell silent. Even the audience seemed unsure of how to react. It was the kind of atmosphere that made everyone feel like they were part of the moment, uncertain of what would come next, but unable to look away. But as the host prepared to press her advantage, Carrie's response was already forming, and it would change the tone of the entire interview. Carrie took a deep breath, her hands resting calmly on her lap. The silence that followed Melanie's jab felt almost tangible, as if the air in the studio had thickened. All eyes were on her, waiting to see how she would respond. With a slight tilt of her head and a measured tone, Carrie began. Outdated, she repeated, her voice laced with curiosity rather than defensiveness. It's interesting that you use that word. To me, holding on to values like kindness, integrity, and faith isn't about being obsolete. It's about staying rooted. The audience erupted into applause, a wave of support that seemed to catch even Melanie off guard. But Carrie wasn't done. She leaned forward slightly, her calm demeanor now carrying a quiet intensity. You know, Melanie, it's easy to sit here and label someone's beliefs as old-fashioned when they don't fit into a specific narrative. But aren't we all here to celebrate diversity? Not just in how we look, but in how we think. Melanie blinked, momentarily stunned by the grace and precision of Carrie's words. The host opened her mouth to retort, but Carrie continued, her voice growing steadier with each word. We live in a world where everyone is quick to shout over each other, to assume the worst instead of trying to understand. I think we've forgotten how to have real conversations, ones where we don't have to agree on everything, but can still respect one another. The studio was silent again, but this time, it wasn't out of discomfort. It was the kind of silence that follows a profound truth, the kind that demands reflection. Even Melanie seemed momentarily at a loss for words, her carefully crafted composure faltering ever so slightly. Carrie, sensing the shift, leaned back with a small smile. Look, I don't expect everyone to see the planet the way I do. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to share my journey, my music, and yes, my principles. If that connects with people, then great. If not, that's okay too. But one thing I'll never do is apologize for being who I am. The audience broke into deafening applause, some even standing to show their support. Melanie, clearly shaken but trying to regain control, forced a smile. Well, you certainly know how to make your point, she said, her voice carrying a hint of forced humor. Carrie smiled politely, but her eyes remained steady, unshaken. I think it's important to stand strong when you believe in something, she replied simply. But the real power of Carrie's words wasn't just in how they silenced Melanie. It was in how they echoed far beyond the studio walls. As the applause subsided, the atmosphere in the room had shifted entirely. The once commanding Melanie Hayes now seemed more cautious, her usual sharpness weakened by Carrie's poised responses. It was clear she hadn't anticipated such elegance under pressure, and it left her scrambling to pivot. Melanie adjusted her cue cards, visibly unnerved, and attempted to steer the conversation back into safer territory. Well, Carrie, she said with a forced smile, your passion is undeniable, and I'm sure your fans appreciate that about you. Carrie nodded graciously. I think passion is something we could all use a little more of, don't you think? The subtle jab wasn't lost on the audience. Laughter rippled through the room, followed by another round of applause. Melanie chuckled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes, and moved on to wrap up the segment. But the impact was already made. Carrie had taken the moment Melanie had crafted to corner her and transformed it into a powerful display of integrity and sincerity. Backstage, producers were already buzzing. Word of Carrie's comeback had spread across the production floor. Clips of her response were being flagged as viral material, and social media coordinators were preparing to upload the moment online before the show even finished airing. Meanwhile, in the audience, a middle-aged man leaned over to his wife and whispered, "That was something else. She really stood her ground." His wife nodded, her expression one of admiration. "That's what we need more of," she said. "People who don't back down when it matters." Carrie's team, waiting in the green room, exchanged glances of approval. They knew this wasn't just another interview. It was a pivotal moment. One of her assistants turned to another and said, "This is going to blow up online. Just wait." And they were right. As the segment concluded and the credits rolled, viewers at home were already grabbing their phones. By the time Carrie stepped off the stage, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram were flooded with clips of her words. Hashtags like #CarrieUnderwood, clapback, and #AuthenticityMatters trended within minutes. The responses were overwhelmingly positive. Fans praised Carrie's composure and poise, while others who hadn't previously been fans expressed newfound respect for her. Even some of Melanie's regular viewers chimed in, calling out the host for her aggressive tactics. "Carrie just taught her," one comment read, accompanied by a gif of applause. But it wasn't just social media taking notice. By the next morning, major news outlets had picked up the story. Headlines ranged from "Carrie Underwood stands her ground in heated interview" to "Country star delivers viral clapback." The moment had become more than just a viral clip. It was a cultural conversation about respect, authenticity, and standing firm in your beliefs. But as the world analyzed the interview, Carrie reflected on the moment with her usual quiet resolve, knowing this was about more than just a viral sensation. Carrie Underwood woke up the next morning to find her phone buzzing with notifications. Friends, family, fans and people she hadn't spoken to in years were sending her messages of support. Headlines and viral clips flooded her social media feeds, each one praising her poise and dignity. But Carrie wasn't looking for affirmation. For her, the real impact lay in the messages from everyday people who saw a piece of themselves in her. One message in particular stood out. It was from a young woman named Anna in Montana. "I watched your interview last night." The message read, "I've always struggled to speak up for myself, but seeing you stand your ground inspired me. Thank you for reminding me that it's okay to have a voice." Carrie smiled, deeply moved. For her, moments like this were what made the spotlight worthwhile. It wasn't about the fame or the headlines. It was about connecting with people and making a difference, however small. Meanwhile, the broader conversation was taking on a life of its own. On morning talk shows, pundits debated the ethics of Melanie's approach, with many calling her out for crossing the line. "There's a difference between tough journalism and outright ambush," one commentator said on a national morning show. What Carrie did wasn't just a clapback, it was a masterclass in grace under fire. But it wasn't just the media weighing in. Ordinary people were sharing their own stories of feeling judged or underestimated, drawing parallels to Carrie's experience. Social media became a hub for these discussions, with hashtags like #GraceUnderFire and #RespectEachOther trending for days. Even Melanie Hayes wasn't immune to the backlash. Clips of her visibly stunned expression were shared widely, often accompanied by captions like "When your plan fails." Her regular viewers began questioning her tactics, and some even called for her to issue a public apology. Carrie, however, stayed above the fray. When a reporter caught up with her outside a Nashville recording studio and asked for her thoughts on the viral moment, she simply smiled and said, "I'm just grateful people are talking about the importance of kindness and respect. That's what really matters." Her humility only added to the public's admiration. Articles emerged, praising her as a role model, and fans rallied to defend her against critics. It became clear that this moment wasn't just about one interview. It was about the values people wanted to see reflected in public figures. But while the world debated and discussed, Carrie focused on her next step, determined to use the momentum for something purposeful. A week after the interview, Carrie Underwood found herself back in her Nashville home, sipping tea on her back porch as the sun dipped below the horizon. The chaos of the past few days had finally started to settle. But the repercussions of that moment on Live Tonight with Melanie Hayes still lingered. Carrie had watched as the conversation expanded far beyond herself. From classroom discussions to workplace dialogues, people were talking about respect, authenticity, and the courage it takes to stand firm in a world that often pressures us to conform. She couldn't have planned it, but she welcomed the shift. Her manager had suggested capitalizing on the buzz by doing a follow-up interview with a more amiable host, or even a short documentary about the power of speaking out. But Carrie wasn't interested in exploiting the moment. Instead, she wanted to do something that aligned with her values. A few days later, Carrie announced she would be donating a portion of her upcoming tour's earnings to organizations focused on fostering respectful dialogue and empowering young people to express their beliefs without fear. Her announcement was met with overwhelming support, further cementing her image as someone who didn't just talk about honor, but lived it. As she reflected on the whirlwind of events, Carrie felt a deep sense of serenity. Sometimes, she thought aloud, we're put in uncomfortable situations to remind us of who we are and what we stand for. Her words echoed in her mind as she posted a final message on her Instagram account. It was a simple note to her fans, paired with a candid photo from her latest performance. "Thank you all for your kindness and support. Remember, standing up for yourself doesn't mean tearing someone else down. It means showing the world who you are and letting that speak for itself. Stay true to you." The message quickly went viral, with thousands of fans sharing it alongside their own stories of finding the courage to stand up for themselves. Carrie's moment had transformed into a movement, one grounded in the belief that everyone deserves to be heard and respected. And as Carrie stepped onto the stage for her next concert, the roar of the crowd reminded her that sometimes the strongest voice is the one that speaks with elegance and conviction. The lesson was clear. Standing firm in your beliefs isn't just about winning an argument. It's about inspiring others to find their voice too. As we reflect on Carrie Underwood's powerful stand, there's an important lesson for all of us no matter where we are in life or what challenges we face. Standing firm in our beliefs is not just about winning an argument. It's about living with integrity and respecting others. In a world that often urges us to conform, we must find the courage to speak up for what we believe in, to honor our values, and to do so with grace. Carrie's actions remind us that, as we age, we don't lose the power to shape the world around us. In fact, our experiences and wisdom give us an even stronger voice. Just like Carrie showed, it's never too late to inspire others, especially those who might be struggling to find their own voice. In a time when many feel unheard, we have the ability to remind others of the importance of kindness, respect, and standing firm in our faith. Carrie's example teaches us that even in the face of harsh judgment or pressure, it's possible to stay true to ourselves and encourage others to do the same. We all have the power to make a difference. If this message touched your heart, I urge you to share it with those around you. Let's spread the message of respect and authenticity to others who need to hear it. And remember, just like Carrie, you have the strength to stand your ground and inspire those around you. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories that will encourage you to live with integrity and speak your truth. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below. We want to hear from you. Tell us a time when you stood your ground and how it made a difference in your life. Let's continue to walk in faith, standing firm in what we believe and spreading kindness wherever we go. May God bless each and every one of you, and may He guide us all to stay strong in our convictions. For those who stand for truth and love, God will always be with you. Let us also take a moment to pray for strength, wisdom, and peace. May God grant us the courage to stand firm in our beliefs, to lead with compassion, and to always seek His guidance in everything we do. May He bless each and every one of you with His grace and protection, watching over your hearts, your families, and all of your endeavors. May He provide us with the patience to understand one another, the strength to face life's challenges with unwavering faith, and the wisdom to always seek His will. As we move forward in our daily lives, may we never forget that with God by our side, there is nothing that we cannot overcome. Let His love fill our hearts and guide our actions in ways that reflect His divine grace. And finally, may He help us all to walk in His light, spreading love, joy, and kindness to everyone we meet. May our hearts be filled with His peace. And may we always find the strength to be true to ourselves, with faith guiding our every step. May we have the courage to lift each other up, to show grace in difficult moments, and to never lose sight of the power of His love. Amen.